Have you ever gotten lost driving around Palos Verdes? Well, it can be easy to do. Get turned around, get confused. There's so many windy streets. Some don't go through from one neighborhood to another. It can be a little confusing, and you definitely aren't alone. And hopefully, this video will give you at least a start on how to kind of figure your way around. And then, obviously, the more you do it, the more you'll get used to it. But what I want to give you here today is just kind of an overview of Palos Verdes Drive. And that, if you have that as kind of the base and know, because there are four different Palos Verdes drives. So if you know which one's which, why they are where they are, kind of helps you know where you are, or if you're going that direction, you know which one you actually should be looking out for. So hopefully that will help. That's what we're going to talk about here today. I'm going to show you a little bit about a map, where they are, so you can kind of get your bearings there. And then we're actually going to take a little drive through Palos Verdes, and I'm going to show you, which one's which, what they look like, what areas you're going through, maybe, talk a little about a few different landmarks and things that we might see along the way. So let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the map, and I'm going to go over just to kind of give you a high level of the hill, where it is, and where the PV Drive is, and how it basically kind of circles around the hill. So let's jump over to that. So here we are. Here is a map. It's a Palos Verdes map of the South Bay, kind of South LA County here. You can see this is Palos Verdes. This is what we call the hill. You got the rest of the South Bay here, beach cities, Manhattan, Hermosa Redondo, Torrance, San Pedro here, bordered a little bit by Lomita, and then you can see where Long Beach is here, off to the east. So what I want to get into, just to show you kind of a little bit and just explain, the first thing to know is when you hear Palos Verdes Drive, you're going to hear Palos Verdes Drive west and east and south and west. And, once you know, it seems kind of obvious, but I didn't know that when I was first driving into Palos Verdes many years ago, that the name of it is where it's located on the hill. And even when you know that, sometimes, not everybody's the best with directions. So sometimes, if you can get turned around, which way's north, which way's south. So I want to just touch on it a little bit. Palos Verdes Drive North is going to be, it's always on what side of PV it's on, what side of the hill. So PV Drive North goes right along here along the northern side of Palos Verdes. And so that's PV Drive North. And then then turns into west. You don't really know it's even changed. You do, kind of veer off a little bit, but you're basically still on the same street. Takes you around the western side here, until you get over to Hawthorne, and then it'll turn into PV Drive South, which takes you along the southern side, and then PV Drive East connects kind of right over in here, and it'll wind up around and it'll connect back over to PV Drive North. Like I said, we're going to drive some of these, and I'll give you some specifics as we're going through there. But I want to give you some things to kind of get your bearings, when you are there. For some people, they forget which way's north, which way's south, and they get turned around. So just if the northern side is going to be up here, so you're looking at the city. So you're going to be, Torrance. You'll be coming from Torrance. Probably these are the ways you come into it. You'll be coming from Redondo, Torrance, somewhere over here. If you're looking out that way, you'll see as far as downtown. So the city is on the north, and then obviously you go around to the west. You're going to see a lot of ocean. You're going to know if the ocean, if I'm next to the ocean, most likely it's going to be west or south, really. So if it's west, you're going to be able to see up into the Santa Monica Bay. You're going to see, all the beach cities. You see all the way up into Santa Monica and even Malibu. You can see along the coast, and you have some really nice views from there that we call the Queen's Necklace. And because at night they're all lit up, and it curves around with the bay, and it looks like a necklace. And in the daytimes, you have some really really pretty views of the ocean. You can even see the whitewater from the waves crashing. And so that's how you'll know you're kind of you're basically on the west side. So as you go around to the south, you're still going to see the ocean. You're not going to see the coast like that, though. So you'll know if you're looking out and you see pretty much just, wide open ocean for the most part. What you will see, which will tell you you're over here, is Catalina. You'll see Catalina Island. And when we drive around should be able to see that while we're driving. You can get some really pretty views out there. So if you're driving along, you see Catalina, you're going to know, all right, I'm on the south side, I'm on PV Drive South. And then as you go, if you hang a left and go up PV Drive East from PV Drive South, you're going to be looking east. You'll be seeing some of the city again, but you also will see the coast heading down to Orange County. And on a clear day, you can see all the way down South Orange County. It's really nice. But you'll see the city, you'll see Long Beach, and you'll see all the city of LA and everything that extends to the east. And you'll see mountains. And so that'll give you kind of a sense of, knowing, okay, I'm on the east side of the hill, I'm on PV Drive East. So that gives you something there a little bit, just to hopefully get your bearings and have you start to get familiar with it. And now we can continue and head over and we'll get in the car and take a tour around all the different PV drives and give you a little background and some info on the areas themselves. So let's jump over there. Before we jump in the car, I just wanted to give you a quick update here. We're going to break up this into two parts. I'm going to start off this time because it got a little lengthy with the whole tour. So I'm going to break it up into two parts. The first section is going to be PV Drive North. We're going to take you along there and we're going to check out part of PV Drive West. And then we're going to come back and we'll do part two. So stay tuned for that. Part two will be PV Drive East, PV Drive South, and then it's going to finish up with a little bit of PV Drive West. So definitely stay around to the end. And I'll have a video that will pop up for part two. So you can just click on it there and that'll take you and you can watch the rest of it there, or you can come back to it at another time to save it for later. So, all right, now let's go jump in the car. Okay, so now we're heading on PV Drive North. We started right around PV Drive East and we're heading west. And if you watch any of my other videos, this might look a little bit familiar. If you saw a listing video of mine in Larga Vista, it took us, I showed you how to go from there to Dapple Gray Elementary, which is the elementary school that we're coming up on. But anyway, heading down PV Drive North, where you got off here to the right, we're coming up on a section they call the lanes. Dapple Gray Lane, Strawberry Lane, some side streets that go off as you go down. Two really nice areas, lots of horse property, lots of big, fairly flat lots. So you can get some really big pieces of property there. And of course, some very nice homes as well. So as you can see here, this is PV Drive North. This is what we call the merge or whatever you want to refer to it as. But this is where it goes from 2 lanes to 1. And as you can imagine, in the mornings, because we are heading towards the school in the mornings and the afternoons for a short period of time, it's not terrible, but it does back up, and that's a little tough, especially with that merge there. You've got 2 lanes going down into 1. So that can be a little tricky because coming down PV Drive North, a lot of people that live in Eastview, which I've done videos about that as well, they're all coming this way as well. And it's two lanes basically from there that comes across PV Drive East, and then it starts to merge into 1, and then you'll get everybody coming from up PV Drive East that's coming down that way, trying to turn here as well and head to school. So anyway, now we're heading, as you can see, once you merge, it does pick up a little bit even during heavier traffic. This isn't prime school time, but it's still, as you can see, we hit some decent traffic. And then off to the left is going to be Rolling Hills. I'll show you that a little bit on this tour. I mentioned it off and on. It's a gated city, and it's at one point used to be, maybe it still is, the only gated city in all of California. So there's Dapple Gray Elementary, to the right there. Actually used to be a middle school, so it's a really big elementary school. I don't know if it's the biggest on the hill, but it's one of the biggest. So just multiple classes, big campus, and there's one way in, one way out, really, for the most part. So your traffic it can back up in there, but they run it pretty well. So now we're heading along. We're going to come up on a street called Rolling Hills Road. You're going to have the entrance actually to Rolling Hills. It is a guard gated community. I don't know if I mentioned guard gated, but it is guard gated. So up here at the light, you could go left into Rolling Hills, and they got their city hall right there, and there's a guard gate to get into all the different entrances. So it's very secure, really nice area. Again, there's horse property, lots of big properties. It's pretty hilly, lots of canyons, but you get some pretty good sized properties, acre, 2 acre, multiple acres, and the prices get up there pretty well too. And if we took a right, that would take you down Rolling Hills Road, and you'd actually be heading down into Torrance. And so that's the way a lot of people will be coming up, is they're coming from, Torrance in that area, coming back into Palos Verdes from shopping or work or whatever it may be. And then on the right, there's a cool little cafe called Kelly's Corner. You can see it right there, right here on the corner where the UPS and FedEx trucks are. They're in there getting a bite to eat. Very fun, desirable place. Local. You don't have a lot of options, and they run it really well. A lot of kids will go there after elementary school. They'll just walk over from Dapple Gray. Middle school kids, the bus stops there, so a lot of middle school kids will pile off the buses and go in and get some ice cream. And it's very cool that your family has an account. They just give the name. The kids go in there, and our kids go there probably too often to get ice cream and candy. But it's a fun experience, and all kids kind of hang out, and then we'll go in there and pick them up. It'll be a little busy at the parking lot at times getting in and out, but it's a fun experience. So then now we're continuing on. We're going to be going down PV Drive North. We're going to hit another elementary school. We're going to pass another elementary school. We're coming up. It'll be Rancho Vista is the name of this one, and you'll get school traffic as well. It's coming up. We're coming up on Crenshaw Boulevard here first. Just giving you a little preview of Rancho Vista. That'll be up as we get closer to Hawthorne. First, we're hitting Crenshaw Boulevard. You can take that. You go left, and that'll take you up towards the top of the hill. Another gate for Rolling Hills. You can go in that way. You got the PV Mall up there. The Penn Center, which is a big shopping area as well, very desirable. But the mall has all kinds of stuff. It's wasn't doing very well for a while, but a lot of things coming back. Bowling now. There's an ice skating rink. Lots of good stuff up that way. Or you can go right on Crenshaw. That's going to take you back down into Torrance. And so some of the main ways coming up into PV, at least from this side, you'll have Crenshaw here. That'll bring you up. And then as we pass here, we're going to continue down PV Drive North, and then that'll take you into to Hawthorne. But if you went left, you actually can go left here. Chadwick is a private school that's up the hill there. Academy Hill is what they call that area there on the left. So you would head up that way. What's interesting about that, and another area we just passed, is Westfield. They are unincorporated LA County. They're in Palos Verdes, but what that means is there's no city, so there aren't quite as many regulations on what you do. A lot of PV is pretty regulated by the city, so there's some advantages to that people like about it, and people don't like about it. People that they don't want their neighbors to be able to do anything they want with their houses and paint it purple or something. But as I mentioned earlier, here's Rancho Vista. We're a little later, so we've missed some of the traffic on that as we went through. But it does get busy as well, similar to Dapple Gray, but I don't think it gets quite as busy. So it's just got a little bit easier access in and out of there. So now we're going to pass Hawthorne. Like I said, that one again, that'll take you down into Torrance. Torrance basically borders this whole part of Palos Verdes on the north. As we get down here a little more, we're going to be able to go into Redondo. But basically, Torrance heads all that way, and you got a little bit of Lomita and Harbor City as you get to the eastern edge of Palos Verdes and western. And so continuing on here, we're going to be coming up to Silver Spur, which this is, you veer off to the left here at the stop sign, and that'll take you up to, again, it'll take you up kind of this way to the places I just mentioned, the Penn Center, the Promenade, which is the mall, and it'll take you right by one of the high schools, which is Peninsula High School, Penn High. And I mentioned in my other videos, just so you know, for high school, kids actually get to choose which one they want to go to. And so you've got Peninsula and PV High. And so, one of the big differences is PV High is on a block schedule, while Peninsula is on a normal schedule. So the block schedule is they have first, second, third period one day, fourth, fifth, and sixth the next day. And And so it's just longer classes, but fewer of them in a day. They have zero period, which is a shorter one, normal class length that would use like a normal and high class length. Zero period, it's at the beginning of the day, every day of the week. So the kids can choose to opt into that as well. So now we're heading through in Valmonte. It's in the city of Palos Verdes Estates. So very desirable area. You'll notice right away there's just a change in the feel as we pull into it here with all the tree-lined streets. Really pretty, very nice neighborhood, very flat. If you're talking about Palos Verdes, some of the desirability of this is, a lot of flat lots. You don't get them as big of lots maybe as some other parts of PV, but you can still get some pretty good sized lots, and they are flat, and it's easy access, you know, to Torrance, to Redondo, on and off the hill, people like to say. So just to kind of recap, we started over by PV Drive East. We're heading here. We're getting somewhat close to the end of PV Drive North. So we're on PV Drive North right now. We started there at PV Drive East. It does start a little bit, takes you actually more towards the freeway, but we just started there at PV Drive East so we can connect all the way around. And then it goes over, we shoot up through PV Drive, and we're coming now into Valmonte, and then it'll end up as we get over to the intersection where people refer to it as the flags. It's a big intersection where you'll recognize it as we get up to it, and that's where it turns into PV Drive West. But we'll just continue here through Valmonte. Like I said, really desirable area. You get some houses. There's a lot of PV was these smaller, older homes, and you can see as we're going through here, that's not a lot of what you see anymore. So you've got some people bought those little homes over the years, and they've torn them down and built some really impressive, some bigger properties, some bigger homes. But you can also see right there, some of the little ones are still there. They get redone, or they're still, still in original condition, still being lived in and doing fine. So we just passed the police. A little note on that with PV estates in general, because that's what Valmonte is in, PV estates and some other areas that we'll drive through. You you definitely, they're, from what I hear, they're quick to respond, and I also hear that you don't want to go too much over the speed limit when you're going in here. So if you're driving through any part of PV estates, just be aware of that, and make sure to watch your speed, because they don't want you going over the speed limit. But now we're coming up, we're going to be coming out of Valmonte, and again, just like you could tell when we pulled into it, you can tell as we pull out of it. And we're going to get Valmonte. You see all these trees, all the beautiful trees. We're actually on the left. You can't see it, but we're passing the PV Country Club golf course right there. And now, we're coming out of. On the right is still Valmonte and still the neighborhood. You can still see the trees, but this is where PV Drive opens up a little bit more, and we're coming up to where it changes to PV Drive West. And if you can veer to the left and after a stop sign, and you go to PV Drive West, or you can go to the right and hit PV Boulevard. Now I know that's a little bit confusing. You got all these PV drives, and now you got a PV Boulevard. But PV Boulevard is what will actually take you straight into Redondo and into the Riviera Village, and then it will continue up into South Redondo. So just something to know there. That's if we went off to the right, that's where you'd go. And you can see what I was referring to with the flags. So we're going to come up here. This is, sometimes a little bit of a tricky stop sign. As you can see, it's school time as well. Across the way, you can see the cars are backing up. I'm actually going to take you on a little bit of a shortcut. We're gonna hop off of PV Drive here, and I'll show you a couple things. A little bit of a back way if you wanted to avoid all that traffic. But as you can see, this intersection here, it's a little tricky because the cars coming at you, they don't have to stop. So you just got to wait for an opening. And you get them, so it's not too hard. As you can see, there's an opening, so I'm going to hop through here, and then we're going to be going into Malaga Cove, and you can see we'll actually cut up through here through the Malaga Cove Plaza. So you've got some cafes and shopping and businesses and banks. There's a lot of stuff in here, so parking can be a little bit tricky, But so you can see, really cool. It's a really cool little plaza as you're coming up here. And as you can see, we hang right here, and we're avoiding all that traffic. But it's really not too bad. If you hit it right, if they've got the traffic cop out there, um, he'll actually be directing, because it's a stop sign, so everybody has to stop. But if he's out there directing, it moves pretty well. Just he's waving people through. But yeah, we're going kind of the back way. Off the left here is the library. You got to hang a left and head up, and you come in the back way at the library. We're going through here. I actually, this home right there, I sold that one to a buyer client a few years ago. Had some really, on this edge here, you're actually looking out to the right, you're looking out towards the ocean and the coast, and had some really nice views. So very cool property. So we're heading up. This is Via Del Monte, and you will get some incredible views, especially as we get higher. The one I sold had some nice views, but as you get up here, it just gets higher and higher above the homes below you. And so, of course, the views just get better and better. Curves around a little bit. What you're going to see as we go through this tour from time to time, you're going to see some cyclists, people on bikes. It's very popular around here with the windy roads. They can get going pretty well. It's good exercise with the hills. So we'll see that probably more than once. So coming on up here, we're coming up on another past listing of mine. As we come up to it, sorry, that sun's pretty big of a glare. I think it's, yep, right there. Right before this street to the right, was a listing of mine. That one actually had a little bit even better view. And it was, you could see the bay and the coastline. At night, we call it the Queen's Necklace, with the lights that are lit up all around. I mentioned that earlier. So it's really pretty. So we're going basically parallel to PV Drive West at this point. I know I was going to take you on a tour on the Palos Verdes drives, but we took a little bit of a detour. But you're going the same direction. You're going the same way. There was nothing really that you were going to see going along there that was any different than what we see here. It's mostly houses that are on each side, and we're just coming along. And this is the one that will kind of curve around the coast. With now the ocean is to our west, and we're going to come around, and this actually is what takes us as we'll be heading towards PV High, Palos Verdes High School, which is the other high school that I mentioned that does the block schedule. But this, if you're heading to the school and there's traffic, this is a good shortcut. So don't tell anybody about my secret. And then we'll come down here, and then we're going to be coming right back, and this will be Palos Verdes Drive West. Here we are again. So as you can see, ocean's out there, some really incredible views. Down in the neighborhood, if we would have kept going, you could have gone off to the right, and there's the school district. There's some soccer fields. If you head down off PV Drive West, towards the west, even if you take a ride off of it, if we'd gone down that way, the neighborhood church, which is a very, very popular church. I actually got married there, and it's an amazing setting. It's right on the cliffs. You can hear the waves crashing when you're sitting in there at church. So it's really cool. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to wrap up here in just a minute. And I'm going to do part 2, where we will come back and we'll catch up to PV Drive West from the other direction. But that's all we're going to do for today. So stay tuned for part 2. It's going to be part 2 will be coming up, and it'll be done in about a week. So that'll be here on your screen. In the meantime, check out this video, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.